Right, we're here today for a wedding. I'm going to play the bells for the wedding at the start. I usually do half an hour, but I'll discuss the tower and the history of it so that you all know a bit about it. Okay. So we've got a bell here, the bell's here, 8 ropes, 8 bells, and it's known as an Elcom chime system. And you play them like this. Hopefully you'll recognise this one. Certain ones, so I'll try and find those. This is one of them, I think. It's a bit of a fast one. Basically, each bell has a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. C to C, I think. I can't read music, I can only read numbers. And basically I play off the numbers, so it's like your old little keyboards that you had when you were kids. So anyway, this one is I Danced in the Morning. Like I say, it's a bit of a quicker one. Sometimes if you commit to pull the bell rope, you end up striking it. So sometimes you can make the odd little mistake. So there, I don't know if you noticed, but I did make a slight mistake. I pulled the wrong rope, but never mind. This couple also asked for some modern tunes. Unfortunately, there's that many sharps and flats, and they go outside of the octave range and things like that, so I was only able to do it. It's very rare that we do some of the modern tunes. Hymns, for some reason, 9 times out of 10 work. There was one hymn that they asked for, which doesn't because it's outside that octave range, but this is another one that they asked for. the tower clock. What I have to do is I have to turn the chimes off, because you'll see in a bit that the bells are played by two different hammers. These strike the inside of the bell, the clock strikes the outside of the bell. So you've got a clapper and a clanger. Unfortunately there's no system to find them in my chimes, but never mind. I used to have a system. 12. Still got time to do some more. What can I do? I think says all she has for brick floors, the rarest, I'll do a different one for our lady. This should be a well-known one, I think, especially on things like Remembrance Day and things like that. Make this one the last one, and then we'll sign off. First floor of the tower. Like I say, you've got 8 bell ropes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, C to C, I think, and it's an octave, one set. It was by John Warner and Sons, bell founders, to Majesty Cripplegate in London. That's who founded the bells. The clock was by Potts and Sons of Leeds. They were quite a big, well-known clock manufacturer. Now, for a second. If you're Catholic, you should know this. And if you're not, you might still know it. But at 6 and 12 o'clock, you're supposed to say the Angelus. The angel of the Lord declared unto Mary, And in this cupboard here is the workings for the Angelus. So the clock chimes out the Angelus. Obviously I can't show you it in action, but I'll show you the actual workings. As you can see, this is the Angelus. It's now had electricity added to it, so it's no longer hand wound, the clock. Hasn't been as long as I've played them, and I've played these bells for 20 years or more. So that is the workings of the Angelus, and then it basically goes straight up. There's a big wire that goes all the way up the tower, all the way up to the clock. Now we have trapdoors here, which if ever the bells need to be taken out or down, they get lowered through these trapdoors. Be probably almost impossible to do now without destroying the disabled toilet that's been installed below. So the big Cuthbert bell, that's the rope for the Cuthbert bell, which goes down through that little hole there, and that's through the trapdoors. To gain access to the rest of the tower, you've got to go up this ladder, which is quite tricky for those who aren't quite supple, and those are the metal steps. And at some point they put in this cupboard, probably to stop the draft. I'm guessing not long after the tower was built. So not much thought had been put into these tower steps, but these are the actual bell ropes, like I say, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and that's the sheet music that I use to play them. Up here we have John Warner and Sons Bell Founders to Her Majesty, Cripplegate, London. Now the tower, when it's being built, was initially intended to be built in 1853. They mustn't have had the funds to do that, and obviously the church was more important than the tower. So in 1897 they decided they would crown the work with this tower. Now they built off the original foundations, and the original foundations were given to an almost roof-like section, and it was meant to have a spire, a tower and spire it was described as, and it was by Edwin Pugin, that designed the church and designed the original tower. Now those original designs are lost. We don't know what they would have looked like, what they envisaged or anything. But if I come down here to the stonework, now this bar goes across, that tightens up the ropes, but if I come into here and look at this stonework, this stone here is one of the original corbel details that were set below this floor as part of the roof, what the roof actually sat on. So when they've taken the old stuff out, they've obviously kept some of the stone to use to build the tower. Down here we have some old Hudson dry soap, and what's interesting about these isn't so much the box, but these little things. These are jars. Now in 1897 when they opened it, it was the Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, and they used these along the top of the tower castellations. Now there's blue, I think these were supposed to be red, and white, and he lit them up on top of the tower, and Crook's tower became the first floodlit tower by means of these jam jars. Quite clever. I don't know how true that is, but that's the legend. Now this isn't easy to show you from up here, but this level is where the clock is, So inside here, get the right key. Is the clock workings, and it basically was done, like I said, by William Potts and Sons, Leeds. It says in 1898. The tower was built 1897 for the Queen's Diamond Jubilee, and it was completed in 1897. And it basically says, the clock, whole and entire, is the gift of one individual in honour of Victoria, Queen of the British Empire, and the recipient of the most wonderful pageant of the Diamond Jubilee 1897, Augustine Pivot, Catholic priest. Now, in 2012, the clock faces were damaged. They'd been damaged for quite a while, but they were getting to a point where they were in a dangerous state, and during Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee, these clock faces were replaced. So, coincidence? I don't know, but that's what happened. So basically, this is the bit that decides on where all the chimes are. It has little pegs going around it, and it's the quarter hour, the half hour, the quarter twos, and the o'clocks. This bit, past, don't know. It would have had more wheels on, like I say, it's been transferred to electric. It had, we also have a record of when the clock's been serviced, and this goes last time got 8th of the 1st 81, 1964, 1949, right the way back. Even got the original winding instructions, so with more service dates on the back, 1936, brackets, adjustments, brushed, and 2 screws. I don't know if you can see anything movement. That's because it's quarter past. It won't chime because I've turned the clock off. So, yeah, July 16th, 1940, this bit's important. Chimes cut off, wartime. The chimes were cut off, obviously, for the younger ones, if the Germans were coming to invade, these bells would have rang out across Crook, and people would have been doing the utmost to stop it from happening. So, July 16th, 1940, the chimes were cut off. So what we'll do now is we'll have a closer look at the clock. And basically, there's a hole, big huge hole just down there, which the pendulums to the clock used to run. They're not required now. So quite interesting. Like I say, we've got things run across there, just different dates of when servicing and everything was made. We've got the clock face. This is the one facing down Crook. This is the one facing over to George Terrace. Big huge stone corbels, all stonework inside this point. And that is the old handle that used to wind the clock up. in here, down here is a box that used to do the relay system. We put in a relay system so that the older folk could listen to Mass from this church in their own homes. The only issue was it interfered with the CB radios of taxi drivers, so it had to be taken back out. Now the clock runs to this point, 2 cogs which turn the hands on the clock face, and it runs along to these weighted cogs, and that turns the clock face. This is now some kind of acrylic plastic. It originally was like a white stained glass type face, but it was shot out using a pellet gun back in probably the 80s, and they were falling out of the frames. This level, we're now at the bells, so this is directly above the clock. This is the big St. Cuthbert bell. It's the only one that has all 3 actions, one from the clock, which strikes the outside, which is a clapper, which can be seen just down there, and then it also has the action from what I've been playing, which is the clanger, which is just down there, and it also has a big huge wheel to help it swing. Now we don't play this very often because it does actually cause the tower to rock. When it's in motion, it weighs a lot heavier than it actually does when it's just stood stationary. So we try not to play that too often. Now on each bell, it has cast into it John Warner and Sons by Limited, London. It also has the name of the bell. The bells get christened, a bit like a baptism, and blessed. And they all are given names of saints or of somebody of religious importance. So that's the St. Cuthbert bell. And if I go up the steps a little bit, you can see all the other bells. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Down here is the Sancta Maria Ora Pro Nobis. That's Saint Mary, pray for us, because this church was initially Saint Mary's Chapel. It didn't become Our Lady Immaculate and St. Cuthbert's Church till a little bit later. So those are the bells. Unfortunately, I don't think I can get all the names from here. We have Thomas Fisher, I know, Thomas Moore. I'll try and add those. So from these bells, if we go upwards, and we look up the tower to the top. This bit here is from nearly at the top with the bells. You can see them all in position. The red paint was added to try and coat the brackets. The steps have recently been repaired because they were rusted through. You can see where some of the repair work is taking place, and pieces are being welded in. So if we go up the steps, we have different things like D-Air, steeplejack. We also have further down D Pinkney. And this is coming up to the top of the tower. 103 steps in all, and this is the top. Lots of pigeons up here, usually nesting. and it sounds like they've all flown off. We shall see. And this is the top. Lots of pigeon muck. And you can see down there the pigeons have laid their eggs. And if we look over Crook from the top of the tower, quite interesting from up here. We've got the Airlight Hall, used to be Military Row. We've got the cricket field. We've got Glenholm Park. Going across to the Co-op, Dawson Street Church, the Shoe. Going along, Dry Cleaners, Freemasons, Tops Hairdressers, Fever, which used to be the Sun. Cannot see for the trees of St Catherine's. You can just see the top of what was the Constitution Club, now Bargain Bills, used to be Northern Electric. Going along on the marketplace. This is quite important. The old TSB and the building behind, which is going to be demolished. A lot of the demolition work behind, so this view is probably going to change greatly. Go along, we've got the Royal Corner. Smile, folks, you're on candid camera. And that's Crook Main Street. TSB. Zoom out. Oh, the bell's chimed. We've got Arthur Street, Gladstone Street in the background, Grey Street. If we run up, at this area here where the car park is, was the old mill pond, which used to run down to the mill, the water mill, which was in about here. Probably built on the original foundations, and then it used to turn the wheel and run back down to the beck. So, up on Church Hill. Another one of the chapels, Baptist Chapel in Grey Street. Tap, or the Coach and Horses. Straight opposite, about there, would have been the Royal Theatre. Moving up the new flats. Going right the way along. Royal Grove in the background there. Over to Roddy Mower. And all I can see of my house is my roof. Never mind. And my mum's house. We've got the cricket pitch again, George Terrace, Sandringham Road, all that kind of thing. Cemetery cottages, all the way up to Wheat Bottom. So, Axe Cemetery cottages. And the trees of the cemetery, quite big. Job's Hill in the background there, quite interesting. Down Wheat Bottom Bank, all the way down. This is top of water. Close. Top of Rumby Hill Bank, going along the lane at Rumby Hill, the new Rumby Hill Farm. That used to be Loftus, owned by Loftus, small holding. Like a farm, just a small farm. Watergate Lane Farm. Oh, zoom out. Watergate. Back down. The old fire station. Lowell's Toffee Works. Back at Bridge Street. From this side, which photos I put up recently on Facebook, we've got a new wind turbine going across the top of Duffield, right the way across the quarry, top of Duffield. Hole in the Wall Farm, now called a Church Meadows Farm. And along there they used to run the old railway line. They used to run right the way along that point, all the way along past the cemetery, past Job's Hill Colliery. Those were the stables that was used by the school. Father Pippert would have probably kept his horse and his carriage in there. As you can see, the top classrooms and hall is gone. They're no longer there, neither is the old nursery. And if we come along the top wall of the school playground, probably more interest to those who was Catholic and who went to the school. This was the old part of the building which was Pippert's, not Pippert's, built by when Pippin and Seton Rook was here, Edwin Pugin, the actual St Cuthberts Centre. These bits with the bell on the end was added later on, about 1870s, as was the convent, about 1877. And we look across and roughly, I think, that point there was the entrance, where that grass changes was the entrance to Hole in the Wall Colliery. I don't think I've got many minutes left on here, but coming along we've got the allotments for Church Hill. Looking down Church Hill, and we zoom in. We can see Billy Row Bank, all the way up Billy Row. And Mount Pleasant and Stanley Hilltop. All the way along, and disappears behind Duffield Hill. The old Rescues fire station.